I've done about 5 takes on this, and then the last one I was talking about how annoyed I am that I've tried to start this video so many times and that I was just gonna go with it. And then I started coughing. This video is about 4 ways that fiction is good for your brain. But what I've been trying to say, none of you know why I'm so frustrated, but I have tried this to start this video 5 times, 6 times maybe? And what I'm trying to tell you, even though this is the first time you're hearing it, so you're like, okay, I get it. Just tell us. I just want to tell you that I think I can only speak for the culture that I am in, American culture, post-industrial revolution. I think we often feel guilty as human beings for just doing things because they're fun. You know, like I don't think you should have to justify reading fiction because it's good for your brain. But guess what I found out? Bonus, it is good for your brain. Now, I'm not a doctor. Consult your own physician. All the legal things that, insert here. I'm not a doctor. Do your own research and consult your physician. But I Googled it, so it can't be wrong, can it? No, I will link all the articles, links. I will link in the description if you're the type of person, which good for you, who is like, where did you get that? What's your source? I commend you and good job for being logical and having critical thinking skills and wanting to check sources. So that is great. And so I will link the sources that I personally found that are establishing that reading fiction is good for your brain. And I found 4 ways that reading fiction is good for your brain, even though I don't believe that you should have to justify like, hey, I can read this book for as long as I want because it's good for my brain. You shouldn't have to justify reading a fiction book other than like, it's fun. Reading is fun and getting lost in a story is fun. I feel that that is good enough. To me, it's good enough. But deep down, don't we sometimes feel guilty like I should be doing something more productive? Well, for any of you who are caught in that loop, that conundrum of I can read if I want, it doesn't have to be productive or good for me or whatever. For those of you who are stuck in that loop of feeling that way, but then also kind of feeling guilty and like you feel really excited to like, sweet, I can tell people that actually yes, I'm still reading. Or yes, what did I do tonight? I finished reading another book. If it helps you to say, but don't worry, it's actually good for my brain. It is good for your brain, other than all the legal things that I said earlier. Feel free to rewind and check that out. I wrote it down in like handwritten notes. So this is what I'm going to be checking. There are 4 main ways that reading fiction is actually good for your brain. I will be discussing those 4 things. Again, the links to articles where those things are described are going to be in the description. And then after I do all of that, if you're someone who is around here because you're like, I'm looking for like book ideas or like if you're one of those people who's like, what has she been reading and what did she think of those things? And maybe I want to read those things or avoid reading those things. If you are one of those people, stay tuned for after I talk about the 4 ways that reading fiction is good for your brain, because I have a stack of books here that I'm going to talk to you about. But for those of you who are like, no, I don't care what she's reading at all, that's fine. You can stick around for the first half and then everyone else can stick around for the other half. And so, see, it just works for everybody. And then I'm going to drink some tea because in other takes of this video, I've ended up coughing for some reason. I think it's the pollen in the air. So never fear if you need to justify your reading habit, specifically also including and fiction reading. These are the 4 ways that it is good for your brain. And I'll list them and then give a little more detail. It boosts your brain connectivity. It increases your empathy. It enhances your memory and focus. And, this is just a title. It says cognitive reserve. So I guess that's not really a way something is happening. I'll get into it. Okay. So the details. 1, reading fiction boosts your brain connectivity. So like you have different areas of the brain for different things. A sign of a healthy brain is brain activity, obviously. That just got really morbid. Obviously, you need brain activity for life. People who are alive have brain activity, but having neurons and connectivity, let me just read what I wrote here. It creates heightened electrical activity and strengthens the connectivity between parts of the brain. And that increased brain activity lasts for several days after reading. Okay, I should have just started with that. My explanation was more confusing than just reading what I wrote down. So it boosts your brain connectivity. The next thing is reading fiction increases your empathy. Side note, if you're a small part of the population that thinks that empathy is like a sin, then just skip this one, because to you this will be a negative. If you've never heard of it, it actually is a thing. So for everyone else who knows that empathy is like a great thing, reading fiction increases your empathy, meaning it increases your ability to understand other people's emotions and perspectives. I personally have found this reading, I've also found this reading nonfiction as well. Like when I'm reading an autobiography of somebody, it could be someone that is completely different than me, or someone I don't even agree with everything they believe, or live life the way that they live their life. But just getting into reading someone's thoughts, I'm like, it doesn't always make me go like, oh, then I agree with them and we're the same. It's more like, oh, I don't agree with them, but I can see life through their eyes, which is helpful in being kind and loving, right? Okay. I did get off on a side note, and it's just because unfortunately empathy is like this weird hot button issue for some people. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I was going to say feel free to Google it, but anyways, I'm just going to leave that there because I'm going to move on because that's a huge rabbit trail. But if you believe that increasing your ability to understand other people's perspectives is a positive thing, then that is a benefit number 2. So reading fiction boosts your brain connectivity, it increases your empathy, and number 3, it enhances your memory and focus. So keeping track of plot lines and setting forces your brain to build its memory and its analytical capabilities, which is healthy for your brain. So it's like if you want to get your muscles stronger, you exercise them, and by more exercise, you are stronger, like your muscles are stronger. So it seems to me that it's kind of like a similar thing with the brain. When you're keeping track of plot, like sometimes you can feel this. Like, have you ever read a book where you're like, oh, they're describing the setting. I'm trying so hard to like build that world in my brain and get the spatial, okay, this thing is over here, the house looks like this, the neighborhood looks like this. And sometimes it is like, to me, it feels exhausting sometimes if I'm having a hard time picturing the setting or a person. Like if a person is being described, I have to like build that person and like, okay, that's what they would probably look like. But it is like hard work sometimes, depending on the book or the style of writing. But that is actually like a workout for your brain, which is healthy for your brain, which is good for you. So reading fiction boosts your brain connectivity, increases your empathy, enhances your memory and focus. And number 4, this is the one that just says cognitive reserve. Now, what did I write? Research shows a strong link between reading fiction and developing verbal skills, abstract thinking, and problem-solving abilities, which, I mean, life is filled with problems, right? So I think we could all benefit from increasing our problem-solving abilities. And it said in the things, the research-y stuff, this helps keep your mind sharp into your elder years. So as you age, reading fiction and exercising your brain in all of these beneficial ways helps your brain health going like as you age. So I think while we're reading a book, we could just also be thinking like, this is good for me. Like, I'm keeping my mind sharp. And like, it's like a workout for your brain, which is also, I mean, hopefully it's also fun. Like if you're enjoying the book that you're reading, I guess even if it's not fun, you're still, I mean, like I've benefited greatly, and I'm sure you have too, from books that were like, there were unpleasant things in them, but you were engrossed in that world. Like that was one of the things it was talking about back in point number 1, is that like getting lost in a world, getting engrossed in a novel and engrossed in the story and the world of that is part of what boosts the brain activity in the different areas. Oh, this was another thing I read. I don't know why. I don't know why it wasn't in my notes here, but I also read that when your brain is, when you're reading a fictional story, your brain does not distinguish between real life and the story that you're reading, brain-wise. So as far as your brain knows, like that's part of what is good at helping with the problem solving and the empathy, is that your brain is experiencing the story in the same way that your brain experiences real life. So I just thought that was fascinating. And it totally makes sense to me also because there's, there's times where, like, for example, I read, the book called Dutch House, The Dutch House by Ann Patchett. And I got so invested in these fictional characters' lives that I was like, I'd be reading the book and I'd be like, I care about these people. What's happening to them? And I was just so invested in finding out how their lives were going to go. And partway through, I was like, Kendall, they're not real. I was like, I know, but I still care. So like that experience, I don't know if you're a reader and you love fiction, you're probably like, yes, of course I've experienced that. But that feeling of like caring so much about fictional characters, but there's no talking yourself out of it, Like I can tell myself like they're not real, and then I'm like, yeah, I know, but I still care. It's such a fascinating experience. So I just thought it was really cool to find out about the science behind that and why, I don't know why your brain experiences it the same way that it experiences reality. I don't know the why behind that, but the fact that it does that, I think, is fascinating and answers a lot of questions for like, why is reading this way? Okay, so fiction is good for your brain, even though I'm not a doctor, and do your own research and check with your own physician on whatever you would need to check with your physician on. I'm just covering my behind for creating a YouTube video where I say things about your brain. So all of that to say, I want to know. So I just mentioned The Dutch House by Ann Patchett was one of the many, many, many hundreds of stories that to me I got totally invested emotionally in. So please tell me in the comments, what is a book, or what are several books or a couple books? What are some books that you have read where you can identify with that feeling of like, I need to get back to these people. I need to find out what's happening to them. Like it feels real, or like if a character passes away or has something sad happening or something exciting happening where you're just like, you're interacting with this story as though it's real, even though you know that it's not. So I want to know what those books are for you. Please tell me in the comments. For those of you who just wanted the brain sciencey stuff, that concludes this portion of the video. I'm now going to be moving into talking about 4 fiction books that I've been reading or have read, and then 1 nonfiction that I did not finish. As the kids say, I DNF'd, where you could just say I didn't finish it. Anyway, so thank you to those of you who were here for the sciencey part, and now to the comments on what I've been reading. And I will talk about the one I didn't finish. I also, you guys, there's one that I was did not like. Thankfully, it was short. One was just painful to read. I'll get to it. I won't start with that one. I'm going to start with, let's start with the one that I didn't finish. I was really, really excited to read this one because, I mean, I love dogs, and anyway, I could do a whole video about I love dogs. You probably do too. And look at that face. Like, that's probably pulling you in. Like, I need to read that book now. Being a Dog, Following the Dog into a World of Smell by Alexandra Horowitz. I was really excited about this because, all the things I just said, but I got into the first few chapters and I felt like it was all on the topic of smell, and I feel like if I was writing a paper about dogs and their sense of smell, I would read the whole thing. But I think she just goes into way, way, way more detail than I'm super interested in. So, like, for example, I read some really cool things about what a dog can actually smell, and the smallest, like the number of particles that need to be present for a dog to smell something and know what it is, or have a trace of it. That it was fascinating, very fascinating. But then it gets into like, let me describe the shape of the sinus passages of the dog. And it's almost a whole chapter. And I was like, okay, I think I got it. Like, I'm sure this is a fascinating, fascinating book. And if you dive deep into it, I think you would learn a ton. But for me, and what I was looking for in my mental capacity of like, I just kind of love dogs and want to get into their world for a second. Have empathy with a dog, if you will. How dare I? To just like see the world through a dog's nose. Or, I mean, maybe their eyes, but this is all about their smell. So anyways, I would recommend it if you have a ton of time and mental energy for the science, like detailed science of every single possible detail of a dog's smell. I learned a lot, even just in the first chapter or so, and I was fascinated. It was good, but I just did not finish it because I wanted to get back to fiction. I think maybe, or it was just it's not boring writing either. Like, it's not like a textbook. So I would say go for it if you just love deep dives into extreme details on one topic. So I didn't finish that one. So, I also read The Girl with the Green Ear, Stories about Magic in Nature by Margaret Mahy. This was recommended on a channel that I've been loving. I will link that below. I think it's called Water Bear Reads, but the content creator is Heather. I think I got that right. But I'll link it below. I have gotten several books. I've ordered several books online because of her recommendations, or like things she talks about in her channel. Because she talks about books that like not everybody is necessarily talking about. I always find out something. I find out about a book I've never heard of before, which I love. And so this was one of the books that intrigued me. So I wanted to read it because just the way that she described it, I was just like, ooh, this sounds good. So it's like, of course, magical stories. It's very short. like it's a very small, it's like meant for children kind of thing. What this book was interesting. Like I for sure got magical stories, which I love. Anything that is like in the everyday world and then it turns out to be magical, I'm like, yes. But it was just interesting. Like, it was interesting where some of the stories went, where I was like, oh, okay, huh. It was like, I guess I would call it was less mysterious and more like super quirky, like really quirky. Totally worth reading. I'm glad that I got this book, and I'm glad that I followed the recommendation for it, of course, but it was just like a wild ride. It was like, wait, what? What is happening? Plus, also, many of these stories have that interesting, the style in every story, I would say, is where like the vibe while you're reading, the feelings are like, this is a kid's story, so it's fine. But then you're like, there's that slight feeling of like, it's not okay in this story, in this world. Like there's just that slight, like this small of like a sinister vibe or like an uncomfortable vibe. Like if you were in this story, you'd be like, it's fine, it's a magical story. And then you're like, it's not okay, is it? And then I think, yeah, in most of all the stories, I think everything turns out okay. But there's just that feeling of like, I don't know, if you like that vibe of super quirky and like, wait, what? What? Super quirky and magical, and also that slight vibe of like, this is a little menacing is like way too strong of a word. It'd be like a molecule of menacing, Anyway, that's what these stories were. Different stories of kids and strange things happening in nature. It was a very interesting read. I'm very grateful, and I would check out Heather's channel. If you like hearing about books that not every single YouTube channel that talks about books is talking about, if you like unique recommendations and books you've never heard of before, she's someone to check out. It sounds like you should check out this book is what I was saying, but I think you get it. I'm talking about checking out Heather's channel. Anyways, that's another one that I read. Okay. This is the one that, oh man. I'm so sorry to anyone who loves this. Does anybody love this? Please tell me. If you loved it, please tell me what you loved, because I did not. This is Sandwich by Catherine Newman. And to be honest, literally the only reason that I read this is because I heard about the sequel and I wanted to read the sequel. And so I'm like, I can't just pick up a sequel and read that and not know what the first book had in it. It's funny because way back when I heard about the sequel, which is called Wreck, I researched this one and was like, oh, there's a Wreck is a sequel. What's the first book? And I looked up reviews of this book, and many people did not like it. Many did, but like there were a ton of reviews that were like unhappy with the book. And I thought, that's okay. I still want to just read it because majority of people, at least at that time when I was looking at reviews, the majority of people like the sequel much better than this. So anyways, I didn't spend any money on this or the sequel. They both showed up in my local free little library, which I was super excited about. This book is about a woman in her 50s going on a trip, like a week-long summer trip with her family. She has adult children. So it's her and her husband. They're in their 50s and they're adult children. They're all in this like vacation home together on the water. And it's basically a little glimpse into their lives and the things that they're dealing with. What did I not like? It felt like it's from the mother's perspective. It felt like You know how some people go through frustrating and difficult things and you're like some people go through difficult, stressful things and you can go like, okay, they're handling this like they've been dealt a difficult hand in life or just a difficult situation, difficult health problems, health situations, but they're navigating it and they're struggling, but it's a very human picture of like going through difficulty and what did you learn and how did you get through it and what's your perspective, what perspective did you gain going through it. But then other times there's people that go through difficult things and you're like, well, of course it's okay to be like, if you're going through a difficult time, it's okay to be like, this is awful, this is really hard. But then you also have other moments, right? Of like, okay, this is hard, but here's how I'm getting through it. Or here's how I would help someone else going through this thing. This just seemed like, and it's all fiction, but this just seemed like we were in the head of a woman who is going through some difficult physical changes in her life and some difficult things in her family. But it felt so dreary and like all like complaining, like mostly complaining. That's what I'm trying to say. It felt like if this woman was in my orbit, I would be like, is there anything, I don't, this is going to sound, I don't know how it's going to sound. How do I describe this? This was a difficult read because you're in the mind of a woman who is very, like, her whole mindset is that it feels like she can't see anything good, is how it feels. Oh, no, here's the thing. It feels like she can't see anything good in her life except for the things she does see that are good. She has a very unhealthy obsession with and a tight grip on. So you're kind of in this like very down vibe, but also like obsessed unhealthily with the good things that she does see in her life. And I don't know if I'm even explaining it very well, but that's all. And also there was another message in this book that I felt was really sad. And so I just, when I finished it, I was like, no, did not like. But if you liked it, please tell me what you liked about it, because maybe somebody else needed this story and was like, yay, but I don't know. I didn't like it at all. Next, I read By Book or by Crook by Eva Gates. And, you know, so there's a cat on the front. So if you've been around here for any length of time, you know that if there's like an animal on the cover, I'm pretty much gonna feel like I need that book in my life. I did that with this book, even though this is a cozy fantasy. If you know about cozy fantasies as a genre, you may know that they have several things in common. If you pick up something that's in the cozy mystery genre, it will likely have a lot of typos. It will also likely have kind of like over-the-top characters and like sometimes predictable outcomes, but like it's just not. Let me just tell you about this book. I read this book, and as I started it, I started to think to myself, Kendall, this is a typical cozy fantasy. It's going to be predictable or uninteresting, or you're not going to care what the reveal is. And so I mentally was like, I don't want to read this book. But then I started to just like, but I want to know who did it. So my brain got tricked into like, but what's happening and who done it? Like, I want to know. And the characters were caricatures instead of characters. Over the top, unrealistic conversations, unrealistic people. Why do I do this to myself? It's because it has a cat on the front and it's a mystery. And so I have to read it. And so I did. And yes, it was exactly what I expected. I didn't guess who the reveal of who did the crime. I was surprised by, so that was nice. But it was so funny. As I'm like observing myself read the reveal, I noticed that I read, oh, that's who did it. I don't care. I really didn't care. And yet I read this whole thing. Why? It's a cozy mystery and I read it. Anyways, if you like cozy mysteries and you don't mind any of the things that I just described, such as typos and caricatures and unrealistic people, unrealistic conversations, unrealistic situations, then you should read this book. Guess what else I found out? I looked up this author and this book series. This is number 1 in a series of like 12 books with the same main character. Listen, if you have 12 incidents of people being unalived in your place of business or your hometown that is very small, the place where you live is small, and there are 12 unalivements that you have to personally help solve because it's in your community, like, that's an unsafe place to live is all I'm trying to say. 12 books in this series. This is number 1. I'm not finishing the series. I'm not. But if you love all the things I just mentioned, you will love By Book or By Crook. Basically, it's a woman who is living in a lighthouse that is also a library. And it's all Jane Austen themed. So she's working in this library, and this collection of Jane Austen originals are being displayed in their library. And then, of course, something happens, and who did it, and what's going on, and books keep getting stolen, and what's happening. Okay. Here, I do know what else kept me hooked. There was like this little sprinkling of like, what if something supernatural is happening? So, of course, I'm going to be hooked by that as well. But I don't know, none of that was wrapped up. And anyways, that was the other thing I read recently. Now, what I am currently reading, I am 2/3 of the way through The Great Escape from Woodlands Nursing Home by Joanna Nell. I'm like 2/3 of the way through. And this is, like when I was doing the research when I was reading, like I did research. That's funny. When I read some things online that told me the stuff about your brain interacting with a fiction story, I was thinking about this story and how it's so true that like when I'm not reading this, I will go back to the people in this story and like, what's going to happen with them? And I'm like, my brain goes back into that world as if it's a real place that I've been. It's fascinating just what our brains do. But anyway, so I'm reading this one, and what's my bookmark? I'm reading this one, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Your main characters are all living in a nursing home, and many of them, well, the two main characters that we go back and forth between, they don't want to be in the nursing home, but they have various ailments that are keeping them in the nursing home, and they are wanting to get out and escape. I have not gotten to like the Great Escape yet. I don't know. There have been times where some of the characters leave, but then come back. And so I don't know if there's going to be some great escape yet to come in the last third of the book. I don't know. But you're basically following a man and a woman who find themselves in the nursing home, and I would say it's basically like their lives, their health situations, and some very humorous anecdotes. It's all fiction, of course. It's not, none of this is real, but like you're in the world of this nursing home and you get to know the different characters and the things that they're dealing with. You start to find out their backstories and parts of their lives. So I would say it's lighthearted, but then it's like a fuzzy thing. That I can see. in my previous video, there was a floaty thing that I could not see. This was clearly a fuzz from a scarf or something. Anyways, so yeah, so it's lighthearted, but you're also getting some very serious real life stuff because, you know, some people are on hospice in the nursing home, but they're friends with the main characters. And it's like, oh man, just the difficulty of like, you know, what real life in a nursing home must be like in that respect. But in other ways, it doesn't feel very realistic. So that's what I'm kind of wrestling with this story is the story, the things that happen that are lighthearted are very like endearing. But I also, when I read it, I'm like, this is not. So like the characters in this book are all in the residents are all in like their 80s and 90s. But the way the author is portraying them, the way that they think, not necessarily the way they think, the way that they talk with each other, sounds more like the mental state and the verbal communication of someone who's like in their 60s or maybe 70s. Like I mean, it's hard to say with that. Like the health situation of all the people in this nursing home doesn't match up with the way that they communicate. You know what I mean? So in a way, it's like there are things that literally I am chuckling as I read this because like the older people are like, you know, hey, let's revolt. Like, what the heck? What? This food is bad. Like, come on. And like, there's just some humorous things that happen where you feel like you're watching like a funny TV show set in a nursing home, mixed in with some very real life, sad, difficult situations that people are dealing with. But I just had to tell myself, I was like, Kendall, just go with it. Pretend you're watching like a TV show where, you know, like, yes, nobody talks this way, or like these people would not actually be talking this way. It's fine. The story has me pulled in. I can't wait to keep reading and find out what happens to these people, and see what other humorous antics, and, you know, to see how the life path of the residents go. So I would recommend it if you're able to like, suspend your disbelief a bit about the conversation style of people in their 80s and 90s and make it not as realistic, but to still enjoy the story. If you have people in your life that you love who are older, or if you have had people in your life who are older, or if you've ever worked in a nursing home or visited nursing homes much, I think you would also get a kick out of this as well. There are some mysteries. Like, it's not a mystery story, but there's odd things that are mentioned in the story where I'm like, well, that probably means something. What's happening? What's actually happening? So there are little sprinkles of things in the story where I'm like, what is that about? That just seem like weird, or they aren't explained, but they seem important. So I think hopefully in this last third of the book, I will find out, is there something hidden is there something that the author is hiding and not revealing yet? So tractor alert. I don't know. You never know what people can hear from the audio or not, but if you heard that was a tractor going by. So yeah, that's The Great Escape from Woodlands Nursing Home. That's what I'm reading. I hope you enjoyed this dual purpose video. The first one being the 4 ways that reading fiction is good for your brain, and then the other half is my reading wrap up, I guess you could say. So that's what I'm reading, and if you made it this far in the video, feel free to leave me a book related emoji if you're not sure what to say, but you want to let me know that you were here. And thanks for watching. And what else? Feel free to check out my Buy Me a Coffee site where you can support the channel through a one-time donation or a monthly membership. That is for those of you who are not on a tight budget. And also, I am selling the Honest Gratitude Journal. All the things will be linked below. Enjoy whatever the next video YouTube thinks you will enjoy that is there or here. I don't know. Thank you for watching.